Hey guys, this is Sean Niehoff, and you're listening to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast, special edition 5 Minutes of Fire. We are here talking about the lyrics of We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel. We're covering only 5 minutes at a time, which is about the length of the song, so it works out kind of nicely. So please join us as we dive into some new lyrics today.
All right, guys, so here are the topics that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about Studebaker, television, North Korea, South Korea, and Marilyn Monroe.
Studebaker, television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe.
Now, this one is interesting because you texted me a little bit earlier dividing up our list, and you said, I combined North and South Korea, and I said, that's appropriate since they couldn't do it on their own. But we'll get there. Jason, what can you tell me about the Studebaker?
Studebaker was an American car company founded in 1852 based in South Bend, Indiana. They actually started with wagons, buggies, and carriages. They made their first electric car, yes, I said electric, 1902, first gas-powered car in 1912. They were the first people to kind of come out of World War II with a great slogan that said, first by far with a post-war car. But Studebaker soon found itself in trouble battling Ford and GM because they had come out with these massive price decreases in order to capture this audience of soldiers coming back from war. But Studebaker couldn't keep its costs down. Their labor was high, and so they began losing money by as early as 1954 and had made its last vehicle in late December 1963. You probably know it best because Fozzie's driving it at the end of the Muppet movie.
Studebaker, I love it.
A bear's natural habitat.
A bear in his natural habitat. A Studebaker.
All right, what's television, Jason? I've never heard of it.
Otherwise known as the boob tube, we call it the idiot box in our house, first became crudely available in the 1920s, but really made its first public appearance at the 1939 World's Fair, broadcasting FDR. After World War II, a better version came out and soon became wildly popular in the 1950s. From 1949 to 1969, TV sets went from less than 1 million to over 44 million. Huge boom in television sales at that time, and it soon became the primary medium for influencing public opinion. Disney is widely considered responsible for the people upgrading their sets from black and white to color because of their 1961 program, The Wonderful World of Color. By 2013, 79% of households in the world had a television set, and by 2018, TV was making more money than farming was. The most watched program in the history of the United States is Super Bowl 59. When the Patriots and Seahawks played each other, I actually lost $500 that night. Not talking about that. But the funeral of Princess Di had 2 billion viewers worldwide. We all know and love television. Dee, what can you tell us about North Korea and South Korea?
I can tell you that Billy Joel was like, what the what do you mean nothing happened in the 50s? So Korea was split into a north and south portion after World War II. After Japan was defeated, North Korea became established as a communist dictatorship by the Soviet Union and Red China. In 1950, North Korea attacked South Korea, which started the Korean War. The United Nations entered the war to defend South Korea, and the Soviet Union made the mistake of walking out on the UN vote, which allowed the measure to pass. Since the declaring of war was not acceptable without the approval of Congress, President Harry Truman declared the fighting a quote-unquote police action, and this allowed the entry of American troops. The war resulted in what we would call a stalemate, and Korea is still divided to this day. One more left in the verse. Marilyn Monroe, what do you got?
My goodness, she is one of the most popular sex symbols of all time. We all know her, the blonde bombshell herself. Born Norma Jean Baker in 1926, she died August 4th, 1963. At the very young age of 36 years old. Born and raised in LA, she got married at 16 to a guy so she wouldn't have to go back to the orphanage. It was either marry him or go back to an orphanage. Didn't really work out. She got a job in a factory. She was discovered by a photographer and became a pinup girl. From there, that led to her appearing in some movies. People noticed her. That got her bigger and better roles. And by 1953, she had become one of Hollywood's most marketable actors. Also in 1953, nude pictures of her appeared in the very first Playboy magazine. In order to improve her acting roles, she actually studied acting under Lee Strasberg, which we talked about in The Godfather. She appeared in movies like Some Like It Hot in 1959, The last completed film that she was ever in was called The Misfits. She was married to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller. She died of a barbiturate overdose in 1963. Some people think it may have been a suicide.
Well, she was involved with JFK, allegedly, and she was also involved with a mafia guy, Joe Giancano. So
she and Shirley Winter, who were roommates, used to sit around and make a list of people that they wanted to sleep with for fun. JFK was definitely on that list.
Sure.
And then in 1983, Def Leppard released a song called Photograph, totally about Marilyn Monroe.
Way to bring it all back. Okay, guys, that does it for today's episode. Join us next time for 5 Minutes of Fire.